Hello, everyone. I'm Roxana Voicu-Dorobanțu, and today you see my avatar, just because some connection issues. Working on that, welcome to a new webinar in Project Blocks, a new webinar also hosted by University of Ovidius of Constanța. The moderator of today's webinar shall be Ms. Gabriela Badea, who is the project manager from the point of view of the university. Because I haven't introduced myself, I am the project manager of Project Blocks. I wish you a very good webinar, a very good discussion, and I would like to remind everyone the fact that you can comment at any point in the comment box on our Facebook page. That being said, Gabriela, the floor is yours. And enjoy the chat.
Thank you, Roxana. I'm sure we will. It will be a very interesting event. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second webinar organized at Ovidius University of Constanța. I am very pleased to be your host for today's event. A very interesting, I hope, because we have managed to gather around this webinar some very special guests that I would like to thank for joining us and for accepting to present their expertise and their knowledge about blockchain. So I will present my guests for today as I see them on my screen. So Alin Iftemi, who is from Modex Romania. He's the co-founder, and he will give us some insights about the applications already implemented in Romania, and not only that, and some future maybe applications that can be implemented in public sector. So hello, Alin, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you. Also, again, from the providers of solutions, blockchain-based, we have George Suciu Jr., who is R&D and Innovation Manager at Bea Consult International. George will present us various applications already implemented in Romania, and at Ovidius University of Constanța, one of them that will soon begin, and I'm very pleased to have him by our side. George, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation, and happy to be together.
Thank you. And George Farauanu, who also a special guest from another domain that uses blockchain. He's a co-founder for a startup called Confidas. I'm happy to have him also because George is actually an alumni from Ovidius University of Constanța, and we are very proud to have him in our webinar. So thank you, George, for joining us.
Thank you also for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And I really think that we're going to have some very interesting discussions today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And from Ovidius part, we have by our side Alexandru Bobe, who is our Vice Rector for Digitalization, Students and Alumni. Thank you, Alex, for being here. And Constantin Ilie and Loredana Schipor, who are my colleagues from Ovidius team of implementation. So thank you all for joining me and accepting our invitation. Yes, I'm sure that our event will be very, very interesting and will reach out many people from various domains, because today we have in our minds to shed some light on the applications that use blockchain besides Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin still remains a buzzword and one of most famous, but as you will see today, there are several other applications that can be made and implemented, and they are already implemented, or they are, as I said, some projects to be. So I'm sure that our followers on Facebook can leave us some comments and ask us questions, because my guests, I'm sure, will be happy to answer them. So please do that on our event on Facebook. Let's start this webinar with my colleague Cosmin Ilie, who will give us an introduction on blockchain in port logistics. And then we will continue with George Suciu Jr. and Alin Iftemi, and then Loredana, and then George, and then questions and answers, and so on. So let's start this nice event. Cosmin, please.
Okay, thank you very much.
And tell us about blockchain import logistics, because it's one very, very important domain.
Yes, and thank you very much. It's an opportunity for us. I'm speaking from the point of view of this university. We have a great port here in Constanța, and somehow, because I'm an engineering, I'm talking from an industrial point of view. Let's say that I want to see blockchain or the technology from blockchain implemented here in Constanța port, because I think we need it. So my presentation will be somehow organized on that direction, and I will briefly present some from points of view that I found looking at blockchain implementations, and also what ports needs. And I will show you some examples that are not new. Actually, you can say them that are classics of blockchain implementation. So let's start. Okay. First of all, I have to say that ports and logistics, because this is the title.
Cosmin, you shared your screen?
Yes, I did.
Okay, now I think it's showing. Yes, now it is.
It is? Okay. So when we are talking about ports and the logistics, I don't think we can talk about them separated. There is no ports without logistics, and the logistics can be implemented. Actually, it's one of the best way to implement its ports. So all the issues that I will talk about, I think it will somehow emphasize both of their problems and actually what I think that blockchain can do for both of them. So what are the issues right now in ports? And I'm talking in generally. Here maybe somehow emphasized for Constanța port, but let's say right now, and actually this problem where the global trade is becoming more complex and less predictable. We have issues like right now COVID, and this add more difficulties to the problem. So this is one of the problems, one of the difficulties that we can find in ports and in logistics actually. And then let's think about companies that operate in ports in different countries, more or less advanced. We actually, I think some of us, let's say that, work and saw some companies, some operators in ports. I visit them. I know how they work. They have different systems, like operating systems, like systems that transmit and record data. And when they have to work together, they have to use another system, sorry, in order to send each other informations and data. And I think one of the biggest problem is that we are using still paper, okay? And there is a huge amount of paper that we have to have, and we have to have on us when we are going from controls, when entering in ports, when I don't know, make operations, and when we are leaving, and also we have to have papers about where the merchandise must be delivered and so on. And this is huge. And starting from these issues, these problems, and this is not the only problem that we can see and we can solve with blockchain, but I think this is the most important ones. What are the advantages for start that I saw in implementing blockchain technology? first of all, there is a better track of goods. And well, let's give you a personal example. I want to know exactly if my coffee beans are produced in, let's say, Colombia, or there is in Jamaica the Blue Mountain type of coffee. And we can do that with blockchain. I mean, starting from that source until I have my cup of coffee, I can track the places and the companies that deliver these goods. Also, the records, and I talk about this paper that have to record every step of the way, is decentralized. Sorry, and this cannot be duplicated, or can't be duplicated. But with blockchain, there is no point of doing that, because there is a certain information, a certain data that cannot be changed and maintain its integrity. So this is starting or linking with the first thing that I saw. Can be used of tracking where my beans of coffee were transported. Then there is the smart contracts. There is a topic that I think it will be, and it was discussed. I will not emphasize on this topic, but it's very useful in the ports, because it's very easy to link companies from around the world with smart contracts in order to make a more efficient way of transportation and of logistics, of course. Also, and this is also a big problem, a big issue in ports, the capacity monitoring. And I know that there are companies that are still working on that in Constanța, especially. And blockchain, it's solution, because can do that much easier and safer than the actual techniques or technologies. Also, considering what we started, that there is difficulties, and let's say that we need networks of companies to transport goods from around the world, blockchain can be used for adding companies to a network, and of course to enlarge these networks. And we can do that without the huge amount of papers involved. So blockchain can add values by giving trust, because the information is reliable. I can see exactly what happens with the goods, and this is also a good thing by visibility, and can be easier to follow the goods, seeing exactly on the right time where it is. Also, the data are secured, and because of the encryption mechanism. And I'm sure that every type of goods, it's exactly the goods that it should be. Then I talk about the network expansion, especially when I'm talking of public case, because of the decentralized application of blockchain. And of course, here the supply chain flows, physical, financial, or informational, can be used in a way that blockchain can make advantage and value adding. So I have a few examples, and I will start with TradeLens, the technology, the blockchain technology implemented by Maersk and IBM. And this is a project started in 2017. But what, let's say, I try to show here, it's how can respond to problems, to port problems. And IBM, look, he estimated then that can save about 48 billions every year. And this starts from the way they calculate it, okay? It's also a lot of paperwork, And look here for like 2,000 word, about 300. It's paperwork, and it's like 15 or 20% of the total cost. And also, the flow of documents, it will be easier and, of course, much faster. Let's have in mind an example. There is a car that are transporting a good, and from the entering in port until the getting outside of the port, the driver must have a lot of documents, but with blockchain and IoT, everything can be automatically. And you can see exactly the points that he go through and what happened there. Another example is Antwerp, also on project started in 2017. It's like the I don't know, the best year of blockchain technology in this kind of area in ports. First of all, they wanted with this technology to secure the release of containers. Okay, and then this is what I told you about earlier. The drivers, okay, they can pick the containers themselves because they will be identified automatically. Easier to transport the goods, faster, of course. And from this point of view, they don't need a PIN code because they have the IoT who recognize them automatically. And this is actually the goal is to have fewer money involved, okay, and the cost to be minimum. And of course, Rotterdam, it's another example. We have here an image of what they think that blockchain will help with. And it's actually the same thing that I showed you before, also started in 2017. And what I like here, it's what can we gain from the use of blockchain? The collective advantage, the large number of stakeholders, the network, the huge network, and the situation of trust. Okay, very important. Okay, so starting from that view, they emphasize the impact that the blockchain technology will have on Rotterdam port, and it's the same thing that I presented earlier. Now, when I'm talking about Constanța port, okay, of course they have the same things, they have the same troubles that other ports, but one thing that maybe some of the ports they don't have, it's the huge connections, because like Constanța port is not only a maritime port, it's also a river port, okay, because of the Danube. And I have here some European corridors. I will not present them, but there are a lot of them, and all of them are linked with logistics, of course. Okay. Also, Constanța, it's a hub for the container traffic in the Black Sea. It has 2 satellite ports, Midia and Megalia. So this is a huge network. They have a lot of terminals, like an oil, that means liquid bulk. They have dry bulk. Also, they have specialized terminals for fertilizer, phosphate. So this is the kind of goods that are very, let's say, careful, organized and presented. And they have like the largest specialized container terminal in the Black Sea. I think from 2005, I'm not sure exactly. Also 2 RoRo terminals, ferry boats, terminal for non-propelled barges because of the rivers of the Danube, and a cruise terminal. And I put some things that they are presented here, like the border police, the customs and immigrations, the video surveillance and security, and the SPS compliant security, enhanced security, and the free Wi-Fi internet. And I'm thinking, like, okay, all of those things here, and not only of those one, but when they are presented, the port are presented, those things are right in the presentation. So those are things that, of course, can be or the technology, the blockchain can be implemented here, especially from the point of view of information security information. Okay, because we are talking about people here. It's a cruise terminal, but this is like something plus for Constanța port, because the main activity is on goods and logistics. Okay, so this is again a brief presentation, and at the end of it, I will just somehow emphasize the things that I think Constanța port needs. I talk with companies. Some are interested, some are not, but I'm sure that I want to be sure that the share. I stop the share. It's okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so from my point of view, the Port of Constanța certainly needs the security information. Okay, there are a lot of companies. The relation between them, of course, it's complicated. Not because they are not understanding each other, but they are concurrent. Yeah, and the systems are different. I saw a lot of systems, and of course, this is something that depends on them and their money. Yes, you cannot ask them, okay, change your system because it's easier for companies to talk with each other. Let's say talk, but I think with blockchain it will be easier and safer, of course, but and it's cheaper to implement from my point of view. Okay, in the end, there are of course here a lot of costs, but I think in the end it's cheaper and it's easier. And a port, you saw Rotterdam, Antwerp, and so on. They already understand that, and this I think it's a big step forward for them. And as the biggest port at the Black Sea, we cannot, let's say, lose this opportunity. And this is why I start. It's very important for me to make this presentation, and also it's very important to have the technical point of view. Let's say that from our partners and from everybody else here in this webinar. So I will ask, not necessarily now, maybe after we have presentation, to give me not necessarily a response because it's not actually an answer, but some points in order to present also forward the port representatives from the technical point of view of blockchain in this area. Okay.
Yes, Cosmin, you actually pointed out the exact goal of this event, because we had in mind to have by our side some representatives from Timpex Romania, but due to some health issues, they couldn't make it. Anyway, the idea of having them here in our webinar was just to outline one line of activity that it is going on in Port of Constanța. As you already said, Port of Constanța has several terminals where operators have various types of activity, and at some point, each one of them can be implemented through blockchain, and maybe that can shift around the way they do business by smart contracts, and not only that, by logistics chain. So I can only hope that representatives from Port of Constanța hear our message and watch us maybe, and grasp the idea that blockchain can revolutionize the way they do business and they explore their contracts. Having said that, thank you very much for this introduction and for pointing out the utility in logistics and in, of course, in our port at Constanța Harbor here. In this note, I think we can pass now to give some solutions, as you said, maybe to see how applications do look like in several domains. And now I will give the floor to George Suciu Jr., who is a senior researcher in blockchain, and not only that, he holds a PhD in cloud communications at the Politehnica University of Bucharest, and now as a postdoctoral program, he is working also with blockchain and not just that, cloud communications and so on. And I'm sure that his presentation will shed some light about the use cases that can be implemented in Romania and not only here. So, George, the floor is yours, please.
So thank you for the good introduction and also for the previous presentation. There are many use cases and many challenges for a blockchain. So our presentation will give some examples of possible projects and ongoing projects. So we'll share the screen.
I think it will take a few seconds to
yes
appear. Did you share it?
Yes.
Try to click it. I don't know. It's this is the right problem. After I click it, I think it was shared. Okay.
Now it appears now.
Can you see? Okay.
Yes,
I will put it into full screen. Good. So my presentation will shortly describe Beia, and then also present some solutions and some projects and also some possible clients. So about Beia,
you can just click another time on slideshow so that we see the slides in full screen.
Yes, it's in full screen on my side.
Okay, maybe I don't know, because here it looks like in previous mode. Okay, no. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so yeah, I think there is a problem with sharing, but maybe
it's
now.
Fine. It's okay.
Okay, so yeah, can you see the next slide now about the general business description?
Yes. Please tell us about your company, because you have many projects already implemented, and your expertise it's what we need in convincing people that blockchain can be used. So please do share with us some intel.
Yes. So we started in '91 as a spin-off from the University Politehnica of Bucharest. Now we are around 100 people. Most of us are engineers. We have also some professors and some PhD and different types of expertise. And we do mainly three things. So we trade and distribute IT and communication equipment. We develop R&D and innovation projects, and we also do technical integration of IoT and telemetry solutions. We have some offices in Romania, also one office at the Black Sea near Mangalia, and some offices in Austria and in Belgium. So this is a picture of one of our offices in Bucharest. As you can see, we installed also some solar panels, and we are using it as a living lab. We celebrate this year 30 years of existence, and we work with different partners throughout Europe and also internationally. So I can mention some of them as Siemens or Panasonic or Samsung. In Romania, the consultancy part is focusing on different framework programs. So we have experience starting with framework program 6, 7, and also in other funding programs. What we do in projects is the complete project management. So we can do financial, administrative, dissemination part. What we like to do is actually the R&D part. So developing IoT and security solutions using also 5G and satellite communication, also artificial intelligence nowadays for processing big data on cloud computing. In Romania, we are 2 persons with the same name. So in the company, that is sometimes confusing. So we are a family company. My background is in cloud computing, and I did part of my PhD in Denmark. And we have also experience in founding different startups and operating some innovation hubs and accelerators. So,
sorry, did you move your slide? Because on screen it remains at general business description.
Okay, then yeah, I will exit the full screen because
yes, so you can see what we see perfectly.
Yes. So in Romania, we work with different organizations. We work also with Ovidius University and with different water-related infrastructures, also with shipping companies, with ports. And in blockchain, we have several fields where we already are using, for example, in energy domain, in the security domain, also in the industrial domain, and lately also in agri-food. So I will go through some of these projects and explain how we're using blockchain in each of them. So first of them is SealGrid, where we have a testbed together with partners from Italy and Spain and Greece. And we are using blockchain for key management and authentication, authorization. We have good collaboration so far. It's actually one of the first projects that are using blockchain in the framework of Horizon Europe, and this will continue for 1 more year. So next project that is just now starting is called BenTrade, so blockchain-based energy distribution and trade platform, which is one of the typical use cases of blockchain because the energy grid is becoming more and more decentralized, and there are the so-called prosumers, which have solar or wind or storage of energy, and the demand forecasting is becoming more difficult for energy operators. As you know, the energy market in Romania has also been deregulated now this year, and there are many electrical energy or gas or other utility providers, and this is a typical use case for blockchain that can serve this kind of prosumers. Next will be iDelta project, which is quite interdisciplinary. So we are investigating how distributed ledger technologies can be made interoperable, not only on smart grid, but also on other use cases for example, for supply chain in the retail, or for loyalty, or even for the local governments or for smart citizens. We are working here with partners from Turkey, from Canada as well, and we are investigating different technologies to build a so-called Internet of Value, or Internet of Blockchain nowadays. Some other fields where we are using blockchain is in the security domain. You can mention the project SafeCare, where we are using data exchange layer for hospitals and cyber and physical security in hospitals. We have several partners from different countries, starting with Netherlands, where we have also Philips and the Medical University in Amsterdam, where we also try to protect infrastructure that is used now for vaccines, and we will have the final of this project this year, end of the year. Some other project also related to security is called S for All Cities, so smart spaces, safety and security. Here we work also with the city of Buzău, and we have digital twins of the cities where we model the infrastructure, for example, water infrastructure or transport infrastructure, and try to protect the physical but also the cyber infrastructure against different attacks or disasters. We are using also here sensors, and we have already some good results in this project. It is running since 6 months already. Another project that is of high interest now is Stamina, where we develop decision support for pandemic crisis. We started already 2 years before to work on this project, so this became increasingly important last year with coronavirus pandemics, and we are using also blockchain to facilitate the access to data from different first responders. In Romania, we work with Romanian Red Cross and with the National Institute for Virology. Some other use cases are in fraud detection. We are working here with partners from Netherlands and Turkey, and the Romanian police to detect fraudulent activities also in the dark web, but also in investigating on the clear web. There are different frauds. As you may know, there were frauds on initial coin offerings, on ICO, and other scams, also identity theft, and these are becoming more and more frequent. Good news is that last year this fraud was reduced, so comparing to 2019, it was around only 5% of the total transactions involving cryptocurrencies or blockchain in particular. In some other fields like industry, there are initiatives on how to use blockchain for industrial Internet of Things and systems of systems, such as in Arrowhead tools, or in some specific port operations, such as in the project Vital 5G, where we work together with Orange and Navrom and Galați port to develop the so-called NetApps, so network applications, to improve the logistics in ports, to reduce also the number of accidents. In Romania, there are at least 5 major accidents each year involving ships. You know, also now there is a huge problem with Suez and other canals where accidents happen quite frequently. Some other project in the industrial domain is UPSIM, where we have the so-called digital twins. So it's a model of physical twin of physical system, and these digital twins have a certificate that this is let's say as good as possible twin for the physical world, and this information is also stored on the blockchain. This project is together with University of Sibiu, University Lucian Blaga of Sibiu. Some other projects where we use blockchain are EREMI, which is also an Erasmus project. We developed some curricula for manufacturing industries, and are working with partners from Bulgaria and North Macedonia and Romania with the University Polytechnic of Bucharest, and are looking how to apply IoT technologies and artificial intelligence and blockchain, and how these technologies can be brought to the market. Another type of projects are the environmental monitoring projects, such as SWAM, where we have some smart sensors, smart probes, and we are using blockchain to ensure the traceability of the data, so that relevant stakeholders can be sure that data is not tampered with. Also, in a project called Timeo AI, we are doing monitoring of surface water using unmanned vehicle, a drone, together with partners from Romania. We have here the Maritime University from Constanța and the Romanian Academy of Science, together with the company Fluidion in France and the French Academy, Sorbonne Academy, where we are developing sensors that can detect the water quality, such as E. coli or possibly also coronavirus. Some other applications are in viticulture, for example, to have the traceability of the vineyard products, such as wine and other byproducts. Here's also an example of the architecture. We collect data from weather or from biosensors, and then we store this data on the blockchain, and then the end user can see what was recorded by such sensors. Also, some other field is in cattle farming or in livestock farming. In Romania, we are working with cattle farm with the University of Agriculture in Bucharest, and we monitor the different greenhouse gas, and we store this data also on the blockchain. In the future, this carbon footprint will be important for farms to get subsidies, and it's important to have precise measurements and to store the data in blockchain, so that this can be also verified by other authorities. Last but not least is a project called AdCater, or Food Friend, where we do the traceability of food from the farm to the logistics, so to the retailer, and then to the catering company, and finally to the end user, for example, for elderly homes or for hospitals. And we have also some application that is using artificial intelligence that makes a photo of the plate before and after the food is served to the end user, and can determine what nutrients have been consumed, and all this can be then retrieved from blockchain by some stakeholders, such as care professionals or research institutions or end users. So thank you for listening to this presentation. If there are some questions, now is the time.
Thank you, George. There are some questions already in comments on Facebook, and one of them is if you could tell us what were the platforms that you develop blockchain with, because you've mentioned several applications. So what platform do you use, Ethereum, Tezos, or?
That's a very good question. So we started with Ethereum. We are doing now also Hyperledger, also IOTA, and in iDelta, for example, we are investigating many others as Polkadot, and we don't have any specific preference for the platform. There are new platforms available out there, and also interoperability projects. To answer shortly, these are the main technologies, but there are many others.
And the project that you mentioned that will soon start with Ovidius University of Constanța, in that one, what will you do?
This project is called the Multiscale. So it is about multiscale optimization for energy systems. So again, we will collect data from different types of renewable energy systems, and we will build a virtual power plant, let's say, or grid, where we will gather data from photovoltaic or geothermal or wind systems, and store also on the blockchain.
Excellent. So I'm happy to hear that at Constanța there are projects that use blockchain, not only at Maritime University of Constanța. Now it will follow at Ovidius University, and I'm happy to have witnessed that there are so many other applications, and you've shown us a great deal of them now, because people maybe refer only to cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and, I don't know, ThreadLens or major applications that now they are famous indeed, but we can do with blockchain some other types of applications, let's say with a smaller chain. Regarding blockchain implementation, there was a question previously from Petre Herța: how much time and resources would it take for a blockchain to be implemented? So maybe from your expertise, by how much time it took or how much resources when you worked, I don't know, let's say field or some example that you've presented.
Yes, so starting from zero for a novice, maybe it can take some weeks or some months to understand the ecosystem and the tools that are available. For maybe a skilled engineer, it takes maybe some hours or some days. If he has some previous experience with some other blockchains or with the distributed systems in general, then it's maybe a matter of some hours to start a blockchain on Ethereum or on Hyperledger. So we had also some trainings on these topics, and there are many tutorials out there on the internet. So
you've mentioned also IOTA, I think you said
yes,
something.
Yes, also IOTA is interesting, especially for resource-constrained devices such as IoT in general, but embedded devices. And there is a lack of skills. So I've seen a recent study that only 1% of existing developers are investigating or doing blockchain-related development. So there is a huge potential in this field.
Well, so our goal for this project is actually suitable for this status quo, because people should know more about blockchain, and our students can learn more about it and then implement and develop projects that use blockchain, and maybe somehow with this kind of projects, we can manage to deliver some materials and some study materials, I mean, in order to educate people and to know about blockchain, more details. So thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation with lots of examples, and we will remain on this part of solutions given by companies in Romania. And I will give the floor now to Alin Iftemi, who is the managing director and co-founder of Modex. Modex is a blockchain database company, and Alin is passionate about the blockchain revolution, and he's promoting this technology in Romania. So, Alin, please share your presentation and give us some details about how it can be used in the public sector.
Thank you very much. Let me share my slide right away. I have shared them.
I think
you're able to receive.
A few seconds. Still not on screen, but now it's coming. It's perfectly now. You can start, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Alin Iftemi, and I'm one of the Modex founders. I'm 40 years old, and it has been more than 17 years since I had my first job as a software developer. Since then, I have gained a lot of experience in applying several technology trends in real-life enterprise software products. I have been passionate about many technological trends that shaped the last decade, starting from big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. But I have spent the last 5 years looking very closely to blockchain and how can this technology be applied at its best in the enterprise software development. We saw the Bitcoin blockchain network being alive for 12 years, and I haven't met any DevOps teams maintaining that network. And most probably, I will never see it because it does not exist. In my line of business, having a live product with this uptime and with no continuous support, it is something which is very cool. But this is just half a story, because there is a long way from seeing a technology live in production and understanding its benefits to actual implementations of the same benefits in real life enterprise products and or in existing software development processes. We at Modex took this challenge, and we looked deeply in this matter. We noticed that the technology benefits, we followed up with the technical development in this direction, and we also watch very closely how and where this technology can help companies and, of course, institutions. Let's start today by going through some of the issues we see in the public sector that generates demand for blockchain-based solutions. Although data is now an extremely valuable asset, it is also true that the data is not properly stored, used, and secured in many cases, especially at the governmental level. In a lot of countries, public institutions are stuck with old software that cannot keep up with today's demand. This leads to a breakdown of communication between governments and citizens and companies operating in those countries. It also turns agencies and institutions into easy targets for data tampering, theft, fraud, or data leakage. One of the biggest issues in our country, for example, is the lack of interoperability between our government institutions, which actually buries the system in paperwork and requires people to provide the same piece of paper to several institutions whenever they want to get something done. I'm sure that you've all experienced this problem. And in this process, none of us really knows where all the data we give to this institution actually goes or really goes. Governments claim that they take care of our personal data, and they are required by law to do so. But in reality, no one knows really what happens with that information. All these aspects, of course, lead to a complete lack of trust between the government and private citizen, and of course the business sector. But today, trust can be improved and restored with the help of blockchain technology. So this is where blockchain comes in as an answer to problems that we see every day. Of course, it has to be a part of a bigger transformation that involves systems, people, and processes, but it can have a major contribution thanks to the unique feature it provides, ensuring integrity, transparency, and complete traceability of data, which in turn promotes and generates more trust across an entire ecosystem. In essence, blockchain is just a new and improved way to store important data. In traditional databases, there are usually one person or a small group of people who decide who's in charge, who can access and input data, who can edit and remove the data, and so on. That's a bit different in a network that's built on blockchain. There is not one single person who's in charge, and you can't change or delete anything. You can only view and add new data. Every single piece of data is recording in an immutable way, and it cannot be modified retroactively. This doesn't mean that a user will never be able to delete or change some data if they make a mistake or they need to make a legitimate change. It only means that all of this operation will be recorded immutably, and in case something disappears or changes in a way that doesn't follow certain rules, then those actions can be traced back to the source, and the cause of the issue can be found relatively easy. Being able to distribute data on multiple nodes means that if there is ever a case of data loss from one node, it can be instantly restored from another node. And the fact that all data stored on the blockchain is encrypted or makes it very valuable in terms of cybersecurity. Based on its embedded features, blockchain technology can bring major benefits to government institutions. And that's because of that trust element, which is a unique need in the public sector. If two private companies may not trust each other, they may just choose not to work together and just compete over customers' trust inside their industry. But government simply cannot compete in the same way. So it has to build and earn people's trust, and this can have a lot to do with the way it handles the information. Blockchain has the ability to support strong, scalable digitalization at the government level without requiring institutions to build new systems from the ground up. Using blockchain to enable interoperability between state institutions that must exchange data can reduce the cost, the duration, and the complexity of data sharing. It will also ensure participants that the data they use or share through this system are protected, unaltered, and the privacy rules set at the beginning will be followed. Another major benefit of implementing blockchain at the governmental level is lower corruption levels because data introduced in such a system cannot be retroactively modified. In case of unauthorized interventions, investigations will be much easier to be carried out because there will be a complete and immutable record of all operations. Bureaucracy will also be significantly cut down because blockchain can allow institutions to confirm and validate certain data automatically, eliminating the time wasted on manual verification of data. Combining blockchain with other automation technologies or solutions can create a truly efficient institutional system where bureaucracy is cut down to a minimum. Integrating blockchain along with other technologies in the public sector not only saves time and money in the long run, but also increases transparency and offers easier access to open data for the public as required by legislation in many countries. This also means that people who work in the public sector will act more responsibly and the risk of human error or fraud will be reduced. All of this results in higher trust in government among citizens and, of course, a better collaboration between public and private sectors. At the European level, the upper management is looking closely and putting real money into researching and developing concepts and projects based on blockchain. So this is a vote of confidence in this technology, showing that it's not meant to only support cryptocurrencies. It brings a unique combination of benefits, especially in the public sector, from citizen identity management all the way to enable fundamental democratic rights like electronic voting. The best and closest example of excellent use of blockchain in the public sector comes from Estonia, which has integrated this technology in pretty much all government registries and processes. Everything is centralized. People have a national digital identity system that allows them to navigate from one institution to another from their own mobile phones. Bureaucracy is practically non-existent, and most people start giving up the use of cash money since a couple of years already. Moreover, with blockchain deployed in Estonian governmental networks, history cannot be rewritten by anybody, and authenticity of the electronic data can be mathematically proven. It means that no one, not hackers, not system administrators, and not even governmental itself can manipulate the data and get away with it. So countries everywhere, especially in Europe, are looking to or working in piloting blockchain projects after Estonia's model. And the more countries make effort in this direction, the more extended the access to European services will be. Now, let's bring things closer to home and see a couple of use cases, and let us imagine how our life would change for the better with the use of the blockchain in the Romanian public sector. We are well aware of administrative bottlenecks in our country, and all of us relate to a sense of alienation in our relationship with public services. But luckily, we are seeing initiatives in Romania that are looking to change the way citizens and administrations work together. Modex is one of the companies working with some governmental institutions to advance digitalization using blockchain as well as other technologies. Of course, public institutions use all kinds of systems, so there isn't one solution that fits to all problems. But the solution we already start working on can definitely find their place in the Romanian public sector. Solutions we propose so far include an online voting system based on blockchain technology that was released last year together with the Ministry of Environment, a workflow management system that should simplify and automate internal documentation and data management for any public institution, as well as solution that enables interoperability among several players, whether they are public or private entities. Another solution we're working on is national digital identity system, which can be one of the biggest steps in improving interactions between individuals and authorities, because it could allow each of us to get control of all our data that's currently scattered around various institutions and make it easier to prove our identity and educational background, pay our taxes, and so on. Implementing these ideas in the public sector is not easy because there is a lot of resistance to change, and decision making takes usually a lot of time. But We are happy to offer our expertise because we believe that these changes will eventually happen, and we want to contribute as much as possible. One of the best use cases for blockchain in Romania would apply to the fiscal authority, ANAF, which is in charge with defining policies for tax collection and reporting, but also actually implementing the systems that should allow private companies and taxpayers to do things by the book. However, ANAF right now works in a very fragmented way. Even their own databases are not connected to each other, which leads to absurd situations where people have to submit the same document multiple times. Where, for example, accounts are blocked due to some errors in data synchronization and so on. No matter how many complaints ANAF receives from taxpayers, these problems are still not being addressed properly. And the only way to do this is to actually redesign the data infrastructure. These problems also exist, and when we talk about other institutions that have to communicate with ANAF, because their databases are non-standardized and sometimes incompatible. This causes delays and major errors in the country's fiscal administration system. So imagine that with blockchain, each entry point to the agency's databases would be synchronized in real time with all other points in the network, eliminating the risk of errors, payment requests, or account seizures. Just the time saved on visiting and reporting and submitting documentation and payment receipt would represent a huge improvement for everyone involved. There are many issues regarding the Romanian public procurement system, with improper documentation, missing information, or questionable criteria for contract assignation, all leaving room for corruption maybe or huge inefficiencies. Applying a blockchain infrastructure behind the existing public tender system will ensure that processes will be truly transparent and easy to monitor from the moment a project is published until the end of the implementation period. One of the biggest changes that could be facilitated by blockchain technology could be the introduction of smart contracts, which will help tender participants prove their eligibility in a much more efficient and transparent manner, without requiring manual verification and evaluation for all the info they submit for a project. Contracts could be assigned more quickly, and because the data is verified objectively using technology, we may also see fewer appeals and disputes over the project assignations, which are major causes of delay for public projects in our country. The healthcare industry is plagued by inefficiencies, fragmented data, and high administrative costs. It needs a technology ecosystem that can remove some of the middlemen and cut costs while maintaining trust and transparency. Ensuring the integrity of the medical supply chain with blockchain is a way to protect vulnerable patients facing drug shortages due to the current system inefficiency and vulnerability to fraud and delays. In a blockchain-based system, all actors involved, medical authorities, drug manufacturers, distributors, pharmacies, clinics, hospitals, could have access to a distributed and decentralized database that would record all actions performed in regards to supplying the internal market with the necessary pharmaceutical products. From available stocks to transport checkpoints, to order confirmations and expected shipments, etc., all data could be updated in real time, and all parties involved will be informed of these updates. This would help authorities identify drug shortage risks much earlier and allow them to take action before crisis situations arise. It would be also significantly reduce the risk of fake or bad quality medicines, because the system will record the entire course of each drug through the distribution chain, and the data will not be vulnerable to tampering due to the immutability of the blockchain technology. Reduced bureaucracy is just an added bonus. Setting up an adequate land registry system is a challenge for governments, and Romania is among the countries with an incomplete system. Currently, the integrated computer system of cadastre and land book reflects less than half of the total number of properties in the country. Romanian authorities have been aiming to develop a complete and uniform land registry and real estate system across the country through the National Cadastre and Land Book program, which is supposed to be completed by 2023. The system should be able to get real-time updates and be accessed by anyone who is interested. So this would be a perfect use case for the blockchain technology, because it would guarantee the reliability and real-time updating of property information that is relevant for absolutely everyone. The information would be stored using cryptographic methods, which means that each document or asset receives a unique code through which any transaction can be tracked. Through the blockchain, citizens will be able to obtain digital property certificates from cadastral authorities, and authorized persons can see and add information to the system without the need for intermediaries or validation by a central authority. This will encourage the exchange of data, will optimize workflows, and reduce the number of informal transactions to the market. The data entered into the system becomes immutable, so the level of trust in the system will increase. As a result, there will be fewer disputes over property rights, and in Romania's particular case, this can have an immense impact, as there are many properties nationalized during the communist period which have still not been returned to their rightful owners. The foundation of all the upgrades of Romania's public sector I've mentioned would be national digital identity system. The government could issue digital signed certificates to their citizens or residents attesting to the person's name, address, birth date, place of residence, ability to drive a car, land title, voter registration, and so on, where blockchain would guarantee for data authenticity and immutability of every input. Update a person's personal details whenever necessary, thanks to its ability to make separate system interoperable. People could then present this credential as and when needed, similarly to the way people use physical identity documents like passports and driver licenses today. But all of their information from various sources and institutions could be stored on this digital identity system. The point would be for each of us to use our digital identity to access all online public services, which also supports the EU once only principle, meaning that implementation of a single entry point to access and navigate services provided by multiple institutions within our country, not only at the national level, but eventually at the European level as well. For example, if people's diplomas or health records could be saved and linked to their digital identity, the history and authenticity of data could be taken everywhere and shown to anyone without needing to carry out the huge folder of diplomas from the university when we move, or to take medical records with us from one doctor to another one. Thank you very much. This was my presentation, and I'm open for eventual questions if there are any.
Thank you, Alin, for your presentation. You've mentioned something about the project regarding land registry. Is it already in the implementation, or you said
no? I mentioned a series of projects which were implemented by us. There are some projects which we are working on, but especially the land registry one is not a project that we have sold anywhere at this moment. It's a project which would be nice to have and a good example of applying the blockchain technology of the public service.
I see. Yes, a very good use case if it is implemented, as it is probably in, let's say, in Estonia, where public services are already digitalized and are using blockchain solutions. There is a question here from a comment which is addressed to you. So it says that information is protected from tampering, as you said, and we all know about blockchain. But if it's being economic data, there is also a need for confidentiality. So how can we ensure the balance between confidentiality needs and integrity?
Blockchain, the technology in its pure form, it can cover, for example, simple use case from the complexity point of view, like cryptocurrencies. But this doesn't mean that taking the blockchain technology as it was applied in cryptocurrencies, it's the ideal way to be applied in enterprises. So in order to obtain also confidentiality of the data and security, the actual security of the data, there are additional modifications which have to be implemented in this blockchain technology. Our product, for example, Modex Blockchain Database, it doesn't just provide immutability, it will also provide the ownership of the data which is stored. So, for example, if a particular user registers some information within a blockchain-based database system, that information is owned by him, meaning that it can also be encrypted with his own personal private keys. And in order for everybody else to see that information, must submit a simple request for accessing the data. And the data owner will provide access to that information. So shortly said, the reality enforced us to extend the actual blockchain technology, which everyone sees on the market in the public or public blockchains or open source blockchains, to some enterprise feature in order to be able to accommodate this technology to every public service or private institution.
I see. Well, this comes very in handy with the last question that we have on Facebook, because it says here, what about a court order? I think maybe it's related to the land registry. How can the court overwrite any data in the blockchain while it is immutable? I think you've already answered that. If you can have the property of your information and give access to court, let's say.
No, the question is a little bit different in this particular case. And I would like to make a note that immutability does not mean that I'm not able to update records or add new versions of a particular record. So for example, let's say we have a court order which is stored immutably in a blockchain database system like our product, and then I want to make new updates of that information. The information will be updated, but all its historical versions, let's say version 1 of the court order, secondary version, third version, and so on, while let's say the fourth is the actual one, they will all be stored in this immutable system. So records can have the actual business logic of a traditional database, meaning we can update new version of it, but the immutability is applied to maintain the data integrity on all previous versions. So immutability doesn't mean that I cannot modify. It means that we can provide immutability for all historical versions.
Oh, I see. Thank you for clarifying that. And another question, I think you've mentioned something about the voting system. Do you think that an electronic voting system will ever be implemented based on the blockchain technology, of course?
There is already a voting system implemented, which is available at econsultare.ro, if I'm not mistaken. It's a project belonging to Ministry of Environment, but it's used for allowing us, regular citizens, to vote by expressing our opinion about some particular legislation project. We know that there is interest.
Is it blockchain based?
It's fully based on blockchain technology.
Okay.
We know that there is interest for this project to be, I don't know, maybe extended to some other institutions as well. But if we are talking about election, let's say voting presidents or I don't know, political persons, this requires more, let's say, more research, because it's not necessarily a matter of technology, but a matter of being a legal process. So I'm afraid that in this moment the technology exists, but there are other mechanisms which are legally or administrative, which have to be, let's say, adjusted in order to facilitate voting for president using blockchain technology.
I see. Okay, this question, how much time and resources, from your experience, how much time do you think it will take to implement not this, let's say, such a complicated system as e-voting, but a blockchain, let's say, with a smaller chain?
As always, there is also a depends attribute, but we have done a lot of efforts to create a blockchain-based database system, which it's meant by its design to be adjusted as soon as possible and with less cost for a particular company. So if we are talking just of, let's say, bringing immutability on existing database information, this can be accommodated in a matter of a few days. If we are talking about new custom developments, for example, then it's a matter of custom developments, which depends on how many developments has to be done. But from this delivery point of view, our product was designed to be accommodated as soon as possible, because this is what the actual enterprise market expects from the blockchain technology, to have something which can be accommodated fast without destroying what we have built in the last 10 years.
I see. Thank you. George Faraonu, do you want to step in the discussion? Because I know that you have already implemented blockchain at your startup company. So how much time was it to
be more precise, we are in a fully processed to do it. So I think that my colleague Aline has covered the question pretty good. It really depends on the needs that you have and the use case which you are using the blockchain for. So yeah, if you're having something that can be really easy accommodated, as Aline said that they have developed this in their company, I think this is an asset. But I think as well that not everyone knows that there are in the market these kinds of assets. So maybe before planning to use blockchain in your company, a good idea would be to research for this kind of assets. I mean by that, databases that use blockchain and can be easily accommodated, or maybe any other solutions which may help you along the way.
I see, because there's a relationship with the resources also, because people, when think about blockchain, maybe they consider it will cost them greatly to have that many computers working and all those nodes and that energy consumers. So what do you think about that? It can be done with the smaller costs of resources, or is it true that it costs greatly and it's a bad technology, let's say?
I would leave here the floor for the already implemented solution creators, let's say, because we're at the point which we're still working on it. So I don't think I have that kind of experience to answer that.
George, care to comment?
Yes. So implementing a blockchain from scratch can take some time. So, but just to implement existing blockchains in some use cases, it depends on the complexity of the use case and the skill, and it has not to be energy consuming. So there are different proof of work and proof of stake and different algorithms which do not require so much energy. For example, Iota and some others are especially designed to be energy efficient and to run on embedded or IoT devices.
I see. Aline, to add something from your expertise about the resources that you use and how big consumers are?
If I have to give you an estimation purely based on what you or how you expressed or raised the problem, I would say this can be done by tomorrow. But if, as usually, there is always more than that, and there is always an extra request. So this discussion, it's a matter of time, no matter how we put it in this conversation. But the reality is that companies like Modex have spent already years in investigating how these things can be done faster. So I think currently we are in one moment in this era where we can look of approaching the blockchain technologies, implementing the blockchain technologies in shorter times or normal times of implementation of or adopting enterprise software solutions.
I see. Thank you. So we've had some presentations now related to logistics and food chain and energy. As you see, as you have seen, some applications related to public sector, health systems that can be the beneficiaries of blockchain. And now I would like to shift our discussion to another domain, and that is fintech, because fintech has proven that blockchain is really a good technology, and many startups are already using blockchain. We have here a special guest that is a co-founder for one such a startup company, and my colleague Loredana Schipor is the one who is an intermediary, let's say, between us and George. So Loredana, if you please make some introduction with fintech and what it means and how can the blockchain be useful, and then George can give us some intel about his experience and how Confidas works. And I think there is a lot of saying there about trust. Aline already mentioned something about trust in blockchain technology. So George probably will pick that on. Loredana, I think you have the microphone off.
Thank you very much, Gabriela.
Okay.
I think that you can see my presentation.
Yes, but it is not in full screen. We see it, I mean, with slides on one side.
For me, is full screen.
Okay.
You can.
It will work that way.
Okay. My name is Loredana Schipor. I'm teaching assistant at Ovidius University of Constanța, Faculty of Economic Sciences, from the Department of Finance and Accountability. I'm also part of the project, as you already know from Gabriela. Just being at the economic side of the subject, I will focus today on the fintech industry that currently is reshaping the future of finance. The main objectives of my presentation are to explain the blockchain opportunities for the financial industry in the FinTech 3.0 context. Then I will present some results of my research activity regarding the current relationship between FinTech industry on one side and the banking sector on the other side. I will finish my presentation by presenting the FinTech development in Romania, preparing the ground for the next guest speaker, which is more connected to this area.
Loredana, if you please exit your full screen and okay, so you can see.
It's okay?
Yes, now it's fine.
Okay. I will start with the fintech definition, a term that combines finance, technology, and innovation in order to enhance the efficiency of the traditional financial system, leading to a new emerging sector where traditional banks are both competitors and partners. The rapidly evolving fintech market provides serious challenges for the financial regulators, which must face the growing number of technology companies, big and small, that significantly change the way people make payments, borrow funds, or make financial investments. The European Commission adopted a digital finance package on September 2020, which includes a digital finance strategy and some legislative proposals on crypto assets and digital resilience. Here are the evolving stages of fintech from fintech 1.0, which was the analog, to fintech 2.0, which was more digital, supporting on the internet and the electronic payment systems. The current phase, fintech 3.0 and 3.4, 5 for developed and emerging countries, is more related to the data technology and the new fintech startups that penetrate the global financial market. In this stage, we must mention the Bitcoin launch or the crowdfunding platforms. But let's start with Bitcoin, which is a virtual and decentralized currency that uses the Bitcoin protocol in order to transmit value among traders without a third-party authority. I will not mention the technical details of the mechanism, which were already explained in the first webinar organized by the Ovidius University of Constanța. The cryptocurrency enthusiasts have started a discussion on the evolution of Bitcoin last time, and I want to go further with it. As you can see from this figure, the Bitcoin tendency is to add zero after zero at its price, up to more than 60,000 USD at the middle of this month. This year is certainly a bull market for Bitcoin, of the sort that comes around every 3 or 4 years, when the price increases by 10 or 20 times. Predictions are set around 100,000 USD or even more. But after it picks up, there could be followed by the most significant price crash. The Bitcoin price has doubled this year, being also influenced by the institutional investors' involvement. The institutional adoption will be limited by the Bitcoin volatility, which is significantly higher than euro or other fiat money. But even the high volatility, we can see that on the long run, it is a growing trend. The mining process includes a limited offer of only 2 million Bitcoins left from the total of 21 million. And this is one of the reasons why the Bitcoin price will be even more dynamic than now. Another subject that I want to discuss with you is about crowdfunding, which is a way to raise funds for a project from the crowd without the direct involvement of a traditional financial institution. Crowdfunding is an accessible alternative for the bank's loans, mainly for the small companies, but also a way to promote the business activity or to raise the interest for the company in its early stage of development. The future of crowdfunding is related to the blockchain technology that has the power to improve the services offered by the platforms by adding significant features like safety, transparency, and efficiency. Through the use of smart contracts, the campaigns can be executed during a fixed period of time if a goal is reached. Otherwise, the money will be returned to the investors. Thus, the use of the blockchain technology eliminates the needs of a third-party authority due to the implementation of smart contracts, which are automatically executed when the required conditions are met. And here we have 2 online crowdfunding platforms. In fact, the online crowdfunding platforms create an information bridge between 2 types of agents. capital seeking, and capital giving, reducing in the same time the transaction and monitoring costs. Startarium and Seedblink are two crowdfunding platforms in Romania. The project entitled Matter, the Materials Library, was sustained by the largest number of supporters, while the Impact Hub raised the largest amount of money. Through Seedblink, everyone can invest an amount of 2,500 euro to support the startups they appreciate. The platforms filter the companies and the investors decide the project he wants to finance. Fintech and banking, a threat or an opportunity? In order to answer this question, I want to introduce some of my research based on the questionnaire methodology, exploring the client's perception regarding both fintech companies and banks. The first hypothesis confirmed by the paper suggests that there is a strong relationship between the plethora of financial services used by the respondents and their fintech affinities. Thus, people that own more than 2 financial products are more open to the fintech companies. There is also a customer sophistication by the means used to access the service. The results of the questionnaire revealed that mobile banking has the prevalence for this the methods used, followed by the internet banking, and finally the physical access at the bank's headquarters. Using the SPSS software, I have found that there is a direct correlation between the online banking frequency and the willingness to try another financial option, included fintech. The next result suggests that it is no correlation between the level of trust that consumers of the banking services in Romania have in digital banking and their level of trust in the fintech companies. This is in fact in line with the idea that fintech companies will not replace the traditional financial institution in the near future, being noticed that the bank's willingness to cooperate with them. They enhance the change and have the potential to create better products for the banking clients, improving efficiency and decreasing prices. However, most of the respondents see in optimistic terms the future of fintech in the next 3 years, and refers to Revolut as the most known fintech on the market, which have more than 1 million accounts in Romania at the moment and has just launched the Revolut Bank. And finally, I want to present you the Romania's fintech map. According to this map, 38% of the total number of fintech companies are on the growth stage of development, 36% on the seed stage, 1% on the pre-seed stage, and 5% on the scale-up development stage. And now let me introduce Mr. Cristian George Farawan, which is co-founder and business development manager at Confidas. Its business helps small and large companies avoid bad debtors and find new business-to-business customers. I will let him to introduce its fintech startup and to present you some fintech solutions on the Romanian international and Romanian market. Thank you very much, George, for being here with us today. Your floor.
Thank you also for the invitation, and I'm very glad to be here, also as alumni of this university, hoping that we can bring with our presentations better information to the participants. My presentation will try to answer to the question showed below. Can the blockchain disrupt the fintech industry? First of all, I will present what does Confidas do, just to get a small insight of my experience. I will also mention that I'm not a tech person. I graduated law and studied business law. So this presentation will be more oriented to the business solutions that I've understood from our team of developers that the blockchain technology can provide. And furthermore, I will present the situation of blockchain around the world, how it's funded, and if the blockchain technology has already been adopted, let's say, also by the big players in the industry, in the finance industry. So, as Loredana earlier mentioned, Confidas it's a crowdsourcing platform and analytical tool which prevents which helps SMEs prevent bad debtors and recover unpaid invoices. How it works? Very well, we collect public data about companies. We also collect the informations about unpaid invoices from our users. We process it and create a credit report for every company in Romania. So we help risk departments and credit departments to analyze and decide if the company they verified can be also a partner. I must precise that we have insane amount of data. We collected from also from the industry. We have information about companies, about their shareholders, and also in our solution we have brought information about the balance sheets, about the number of employees, the court cases, and even information about those court cases, which helps us create that credit report. Also, the bad payer, let's say, registration process is very simple. You just enter in our platform, you submit a default, we will verify that the data is correct, and we will show that data on the debtor's credit report, but it will be anonymized, which means that we are like a black box, because we're not gonna show who didn't pay you, in order to just put a bad mark on that debtor's credit report. And in order to be efficient, all the debtors' customers are receiving an alert, only those who are our users. Coming back to the blockchain, I was wondering what are the industries that can benefit from using blockchain. So as we have seen before, there's trading, and there is logistic and transportation. I've also identified that financial and insurance services will be benefiting from using blockchain technology, as well as banking and fintech. So I've found some data on Statista about the year 2020 about the distribution of blockchain market in by verticals. So as we can see, banking has almost 30%. We have also process manufacturing and discrete manufacturing, which comes second and third. But the first three, let's say, domains covers like 50% of the market. This is very interesting for me. And considering that fintechs are going around the banking system, I really believe that this industry will benefit a lot from using blockchain. Also, I found a study about the most important factors which are disrupting the banking sector, according to some senior banking executives worldwide in 2018. As we can see, there's the customer expectation. There are regulatory pressure about banking, increasing demand for the digital channels, and the emerging technologies which comes forth in this result, which includes blockchain and AI, also called artificial intelligence. I was wondering, therefore, how is the banking industry embracing the fintech wave, as it's called? Because the traditional banks may seem very big, and we also know that big companies also take this kind of decision pretty hard. They are not so agile. They are pretty conservative. But despite that, we can see that the US banks have already embraced the fintech industry, and they're constantly investing in order to get better services in payment and settlements, in data analytics, real estate, wealth management, as well as blockchain and also personal finance, data aggregation, and RegTech. Very well, we can see that also the investment made in the fintech, the investments made in the fintech industry are supposed to grow from 128 billion in 2018 to 310 billion in 2022. So that will provide the startups a lot of funding to innovate and create better processes in order to provide to the end user, let's say, a better experience, a better service, and improve our everyday life. I've also found some trends, let's say, for the fintechs, which include AI and machine learning platforms, personalized advice platforms, which will help you take better financial decisions. There are already lending and crowdfunding platforms that I think that we have seen in our everyday life. Also, there's blockchain, security and identity, and better payment technologies through fintech startups. As Georgiana has, Loredana, sorry, has presented before, Romanian's fintech map is pretty rich. There's a lot of domains that the startups founded in Romania already cover. A pretty big amount of them are already going international, so they're not just a Romanian startup anymore. There are a lot of names I've seen over here that already have gone to other countries. We have Bees, we have Paybila, Finkware, also Modex here in our panel. So at the world level, let's say, there are a lot of fintechs which help which helps the financial industry go better. Regarding the digital banking, we have here Revolut, which is quite a popular name. Also in the crypto area, there's Binance, which as well is a pretty popular name. But all of these startups are creating new processes and are helping, let's say, the older players, the big industry leaders, innovate, which in the end helps each and every one of us have better services and also maybe even easier access to them. As this blockchain discussion, let's say, emerged since like 2015, I was wondering how big the blockchain market or investments have been since then. And I haven't found so much data about it. There's some data from Statista which shows that from 2017, where there was only $1 billion investment in this technology, there's some expectation that in 2024 there's gonna be $17.9 billion investment in the blockchain technology startups. Also, we have Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe, which will give grants for blockchain projects. And as we can see, there are three different domains in which they want to do this. They're aiming for the Internet of Things, cybersecurity, healthcare, as well as data management, education, and some other domains. So blockchain is not just about one industry. Blockchain is about creating more efficient processes, saving resources, saving the time, and also maybe eliminating the middleman from the process. In this, let's say, race for making things more efficient, I've searched for the big names in the financial industry to see if they have been making this step and since when. So here we can see that in January 2014, there has been a small step made by F Prime, and let's say the most juicy zone, or maybe time, it's in the 2015 year and also 2016, in which where we can see that the big banks and big names, MasterCard, PNC, Western Union, have made this step and put some money into blockchain startups. So we already have like confirmation from the small startups which have made it until now, and also from the big names from the financial industry, which has already taken the decision to make a step into further to this technology and use it in order to create better processes. At the Romanian level, I've searched from blockchain startups in order to get like an idea how are the Romanian startups embracing these that kind of technology. Is it still something that we try to avoid or not? But as I have found, there are some pretty interesting startups in Romania that have already been using it like for years. One of the examples is Quende, which is a social app which is using now blockchain in order to get some rewards for their users when they are finishing some challenges. We'll see a little bit later what's that about. And also, like two years ago, I found that Romanian startup Swasm, which is also using blockchain, raised like 500,000 euros for creating a better app with this money. So there's also interest from the venture capital in this area, and I think that more and more we are talking every day about results of the use of blockchain. So regarding Bitcoin, and let's say that yeah, everyone talks about Bitcoin now, and started searching about cryptocurrency, and that's one particular subject, let's say, or use case for the blockchain. But there's a lot going on, and what I've told you before about Quende, it's just the first social blockchain fueled network that uses gamified challenges to reward real life interactions. Well, Quende is like a combination between Meetup, Facebook, and games like Pokemon Go, which bring people together by creating common content, by creating interactions, and also those challenges from which you as a user get some K points. The K point is a cryptocurrency developed by this platform, but this is you can use these points, let's say, furthermore, to get access to some kind of services, to get access to a movie, or maybe benefit from some online services. So how will the challenge look like? We can see that there's a picnic marathon, which is posted on this platform. There are some rules. So if you are respecting the indications, you are receiving those rewards. As the platform's aim is to get the community out of their homes, out of their not in order not to stay anymore in front of their computers, or just spend time on your mobile phone at home. I've also looked for the financial situation of Kwende, because I think it's important and relevant not only to talk about what the technology can do, but in terms of business, is it also able to produce income? Because that's what all about in business. And I have seen that there has been some major investments. As we can see, they have had pretty big amounts when it comes to costs. But since 2019, they have started earning. So we have also a pretty big fiscal value for their first year of monetization, let's say, of their actually making money activity. So what's my conclusion? I really think that blockchain is revolutionary. It will surely make life simpler and safer by changing the way the personal information is stored and how the transactions are made. In particular, the fintech industry is already riding the wind of change, and it's already using blockchain technology to create better services all around the world. And I think that's not going to stop pretty soon, because we have seen that the estimations about the funding of blockchain and the number of use cases we have already seen will provide more and more support to this wave. Thank you. If there are any questions.
Thank you very much, George, for this very nice presentation about fintech and blockchain for fintech. You've mentioned several applications that maybe the people that are watching on Facebook know about, Revolut and crypto and all that. So I'm sure people have now a better idea what fintech means and how blockchain can influence the way that fintech will evolve in the future. We have several questions for you and Loredana, because you are talking about fintech, but sure Aline and Georgia can join us in answering. So there is a question if there is any kind of reward offered in return for the funds invested through the crowdfunding platforms that you've mentioned earlier. Loredana, care to comment on this?
Yes. Well, we can have investment-based crowdfunding and reward and donation-based crowdfunding. For example, for the projects that I have already mentioned, Matter, you can be co-founder for 1,000 euro, or there are offered subscriptions for companies depending on the investment, or you can gain design objects made of special materials for 30 euros, or a postcard signed by the whole team for around 5 euro. For Seedblink, if the business is doing well, the investor can have an income. Otherwise, he can lose the money. The process is very risky and there is no secondary market, because the startups from SeedBlink are at the very beginning, and the outputs depends on the various factors.
I would also like to respond to this, if I may. I would be more, let's say, pragmatic. I would say that if you finance a company through a crowdfunding platform, what you get is a part of their shares. So the crowdfunding aims to get money for a company, and you as an investor will receive some shares of their company. What will that mean in terms of income? Well, for a period of time, I guess nothing, because most of the startups are not oriented to get a lot of income and by dividends pay their shareholders. No, they will aim to get a big valuation, grow their startup, and maybe someday exit, sell 100% of the company, and you will have as an income the percent of shares from the exit amount.
Okay, thank you very much. Another question still on this topic. It's about the differences between SeedBlink and Startarium. I think Loredana mentioned those.
Yes, Startarium includes a special area where the entrepreneurs are in touch with mentors and possible investors, networking, pitching, online courses, and other business tools. Instead, SeedBlink, you know, is the first equity crowdfunding platform in Romania, through which everyone can invest substantial amount of money. This is the reason why the campaigns submitted to the platform have attracted total funding much more than Startarium. As I said, the platform filters the companies, and the investor decides the project he wants to finance. The platform makes agreements with the startups in order to keep the process transparent, ensuring investor with regularly information about the companies.
Okay.
And there are a lot of differences.
I see. So can still about crowdfunding, if can they be applied to entrepreneurial initiatives? Do we know that there is something like this, or it's still not implemented?
May I?
Yes.
Or Aline?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. I would say that at this very moment, at a national level, there's only this solution. I mean, crowdfunding can be made for the entrepreneurial initiatives, I mean, for startups, but as an international level, let's say, there are also some other platforms like Kickstarter and maybe others, where you can post your I don't know, idea of a product or idea of a service, and you just gather their partners and some funding. So the answer would be not necessarily. It depends how you look at it.
For the Romanian market, if can I complete? There are some crowdfunding platforms such as Good Causes Award, for example. Yes, there are also other platforms focused on the social causes, donations, that brings together both organization and community in order to support NGOs, the NGO sector, for example, to encourage donations, to participate with small amounts without any fee yet. Yes.
Aline, do you care to add something else about this idea with the entrepreneurial initiatives?
I think this has been already done during the plain old ICOs. They were also a mechanism of funding, and almost all initiatives were initiated by private companies. So I think yes, the answer is it is yes, it's possible. The only thing which I see in this approach, we could use maybe a more stable legal framework of doing this in reality in our country, in Europe, in general. But initiatives were, there still are a lot of them. So I think the answer is a plain good yes.
I see. And you have already attracted some funds at your firm, or do you?
We had almost 10 million euro investment until now. We actually had an ICO as well, which is a cryptocurrency based funding, but currently I mean that particular founding session with cryptocurrency, which we call an ICO, we managed to be governed by the Gibraltar country, because at that particular time was the only let's say country close to Romania which were able to offer a reasonably legal framework for that.
I see. So still some legal issues to solve for Romania, and not only Romania, in Europe as well. A new question is if blockchain technology will evolve in the next year as we expect to. Why does the world need so much cybersecurity engineering? So this is an open question. Feel free to.
I think I have just a very short story just to prove a point to answer this question. Blockchain basically it's a backend technology and ensures the protection of the data. But when you look at the web page and when you put your username and password to log in, that's another functionality which is mostly a front-end functionality. So those functionalities which we all use every day are subject of vulnerabilities and cyber attacks. So cybersecurity engineers are also in charge of those as well. So blockchain solves particular problems, but cyber domain is 10 times huge than the blockchain technology, so or than just data protection. So I believe this is not even a topic. The reality is cybersecurity engineer request is going to raise in the next period, in the next years, and the cybersecurity domain, it's a much larger and wider domain rather than blockchain protecting the data.
Thank you very much. We think also that cybersecurity domain will increase. This is why we are preparing a master program for cybersecurity at our university, in our faculty. So we have in mind to form people and to educate them in terms of cybersecurity, because yes, it will be a great issue. We have here a question if there are any steps to blockchain in Constanța port at this time. As far as I know, I don't think so, but Cosmin, care to help me with this one?
Well, for sure, we have some companies that already work with blockchain, like MERS, for example, which is present in our port. And from my knowledge, there are steps in trying to implement it, but they are only for now in process. They are talking a lot of it, but I don't think exactly. I don't think that I saw something. Say already implemented or start to be implemented, but we have companies that they are work with from abroad. I
see. So maybe if those kind of those companies that are coming from international, let's say, chains, they are starting to work in Port of Constanța. Maybe in this way, Romanian companies will join them in embracing this new technology, blockchain and IoT and AI and all these new technologies that are embracing each other and into giving us products and services at a better level.
Yeah, and also this is actually why we have this webinar, because for sure this is not necessarily a starting point, but is a way to make them more conscious by the importance of blockchain and actually what will happen in the next years, because we have here representatives of companies that already are doing this. And I understand that, and I knew that because I saw what they did. But this is something that I realized. There are few information. If you are not interested and you are not looking for this precise information about blockchain, it's somehow hard to find them. Not the present companies. I mean how the ports can implement the technology. So this is a big step for me, from my point of view.
And we hope that the message that we are trying to send here will be heard at the level of, let's say, head of businesses and companies, not only in port industry, also in, I think I think there will be some shift around in this domain. So I would like to thank all our guests for joining us and for giving us some ideas about their expertise and their ideas and their projects already implemented using blockchain. And I hope to have some more webinars on these topics, because there will be some others, and I will be happy to invite them in the future events. If at the end any of you care to add something in closure. No?
Thank you. It was an interesting session, and especially to find out about other initiatives in Romania. At least for us, we are more in the technological part, so the financial part is also growing in Romania. We are happy about this.
Thank you very much. We hope to have as many projects in the future to present to our followers and to implement in Romania. Alin, at the end, some conclusions about what you expect to be in next years, how your company will evolve, how do you expect to shift around the Romanian blockchain field? I think your microphone is off.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few more things. Actually, I'm very optimistic for the next period. We have been working a lot in the last 3 or 4 years, and now we are continuously working a lot, because the interest in our technology is becoming to be more real. And actually, projects like the one we've been discussing about our own port in our country, it sounds very much like a project we would be very interested in, especially to offer an opinion and show some solution, if not necessarily participated in. So I'm first of all happy, and I want to thank anyone who trusts us and who believes that our work is relevant. And definitely we can guarantee that by the end of this year, you will see way much bigger projects and more relevant projects where our technology is applied, including Romanian public services.
That's a great way to finish a webinar on blockchain, and in a positive tone. By the end of the year, we will see big projects using blockchain. Thank you very much. George Faraoanu, care to add something at the end?
Well, in the end, I would just say that for this moment, if you're a CEO of a financial organization or an expert, I think that it is essential to understand blockchain's role in fintech, because if you're not even trying to, you're not going to be part of this revolution.
True, very true. If you're not trying to get involved, then you will be left aside, and that may cost you, if I may say so.
Exactly.
Okay, so thank you everyone for this nice and interesting, as I said at the beginning, webinar. I hope to have shared a lot of intel for people that followed us on Facebook and that will watch our webinar later on. I will stay in touch with each one of you and maybe invite you at our next events, because there will be some more. And thank you all. It was a great webinar, so stay tuned for more webinars on our Facebook page and on our website. And we will launch a e-learning platform for study materials. So we will try to step up a little bit the blockchain technology by producing some study materials. So thank you all. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.